Greetings loyal subscribers and honoured guests. Here I am again with another episode of 5 to Try, a new series where I will be showcasing 5 titles that you should consider if you have an Xbox Series X or Series S. This time around I'm looking at games that became available for the Series X on launch day or since that haven't already been out on other systems for ages. These games still don't make full use of the power within the new console, for that we need to be a bit more patient. They're still good games though, and that's what really matters, right? I spent well over 100 hours with the previous entry in this Assassin's Creed series, Odyssey, and that I was really looking forward to the launch of Valhalla. However, it hasn't quite caught me the same way that Odyssey did just yet. I have still put in over 30 hours into it since it launched, but my progress is a lot slower this time. I think you can put a lot of that down to the fact that I've just played a lot of this style of game recently, including Ghost of Tsushima in 2020. The subject matter is really interesting though, as it deals with the history of my own country. It even inspired me to start watching The Last Kingdom on Netflix. The gameplay is quite similar to Origins and Odyssey, except this time they have scaled back the volume of random loot that drops all the time, which is an improvement. The world is still vast and quite beautiful to behold. I can't help but feel that with each new game, the series feels less and less like Assassin's Creed and more like a realistic take on The Witcher 3. While I do enjoy the game still, part of me misses the style of the earlier entries. I am going to finish this one eventually, but I'm going to take my time with it and play other things at the same time. Dirt 5 actually came out on the Xbox One a few weeks before the Series X launch, and I played a fair bit of it on the older console. When Series X launch day did come around, I installed the enhanced version but didn't spend much time with it, as there were other newer, more exciting games to try. The Series X version also had a few performance issues and bugs early on which were off-putting. Now that a bit of time has gone by, I have returned to Dirt 5, and the improvements over the old gen version are quite noticeable after a few races. Firstly, the smooth 60 FPS gameplay really adds to the enjoyment, and paired with the nice new Series X controller really make you feel that you're in charge of the powerful cars as you throw them sideways into the corners. The other things that really impress are the weather effects and the coloured lighting. Within many of the events, the weather will change dynamically, from thunderstorms to sandstorms, changing the light levels and throwing particles all around you. The best showcase of the lighting has to be the nighttime events on ice, where the shades of blue shining on the frozen river make a dazzling display. Pure arcade racing experiences are actually pretty rare these days, with just the Forza Horizon series and this latest Dirt entry being quality options for the Series X platform, unless you tap into the 360 back catalogue, which is a topic for another video. With the recent acquisition of Codemasters by EA, who can say what the future holds for the Dirt series? Best to make the most of it while it's still around. While I'm not quite up to date with the goings on in the Yakuza series, having yet to beat Yakuza 4 and 6, it doesn't really matter for Like a Dragon, because there is a new protagonist in a new city with a whole new cast of side characters joining his adventure. Not only that, but the gameplay has taken quite a radical shift from real-time brawling to turn-based battles like a JRPG, with the story reason being that the main character is obsessed with Dragon Quest and imagines his life is an RPG in that vein. For the most part it works pretty well, but the game is a lot slower than older games in the series, especially early on. Gaining levels and getting money takes forever in the early game, and sometimes you can accidentally run into enemies that are far higher in level than you and get wiped out, so it's best to save regularly and be wary when venturing into unexplored areas of Yokohama. Outside of the battle system though, the rest of the game is fairly similar to the other Yakuza games, pairing a gritty and dark crime story with bizarre and goofy side stories, plus a generous smattering of mini-games such as a Mario Kart clone and can collecting. Long-term fans of the series will lap it up, and it's also quite friendly for newcomers as well, although I would say that if you are not especially fond of turn-based battles, then perhaps Yakuza 0 or Judgment would be better options. I haven't spent a ton of time with my 2 remaining picks just yet, but I have spent about 6 hours with each of them to get a feel for them. Next up is Watch Dogs Legion, the 3rd game in the hacking series. The major selling point for this one is that you can recruit pretty much any random NPC that you meet and then play as them, which does actually work decently well, but is not without issues. The main one being that none of the dialogue for the random characters feels very natural, it's all quite stilted. Messing around and playing as different people is a lot of fun though. You also have the option of turning permadeath on, which I chose to do. Once you're past the first few introductory missions, this comes into effect and really ratchets up the tension when you take someone on a mission, as one mistake could see them in the ground. If all of your recruits die, it's game over and you have to go back to a save file. So I was just spending my time in the early game focusing on building up a decent number of people, say 12, before continuing on with the main missions. The other thing that the game boasts is ray tracing, a new technology that allows hardware that is powerful enough to accurately represent the rays of the sun and achieve other visual effects like realistic reflections in windows, which previously have been faked. It does look quite nice, especially when exploring London at night when all the buildings are lit up. I had one quite surreal moment near the start of the game where your character does a mission near King's Cross, which is where I used to commute before the pandemic. I took some time away from the mission I was doing to walk from the underground station to where my office is, and it all looked eerily similar to real life, except my office was missing. Legion does appear to be quite a lot of fun so far, but I'm not quite finished with Watch Dogs 2, so I'm going to wrap that up first before playing any further. A few years ago, Ubisoft showed a teaser trailer for a game called Gods and Monsters, where the team that made Assassin's Creed Odyssey would make use of the extensive research they did to create another more light-hearted action game. That game is finally here, with the name changed to Immortals Fenyx Rising, because Monster Energy tried to sue them. When the game was first teased, we didn't really know what sort of game it was going to be, but now we do. It's a Zelda Breath of the Wild inspired open-world physics-based adventure. Navigating the world and completing the mini puzzle or combat focused Tartaros rifts feels very similar to the Switch launch title, but there are of course differences as well, such as the ancient Greek setting, the fact that your weapons and equipment don't break, and the sense of humour the game has. People either love or hate the goofy jokes and the writing, and personally I don't mind it too much. Some of the jokes do make me cringe a bit, and others make me crack a wry smile and think, okay game, you're alright. If you don't take the game too seriously and just take your time exploring for fun, then you will get quite a lot of enjoyment out of it. If you have recently spent a lot of time with either Breath of the Wild or Genshin Impact, then Immortals Fenyx Rising may feel a bit too similar right now, but if it's been a while or you haven't played either of those at all, then it will feel like quite a new, refreshing experience for you. I do intend to get stuck into the game properly eventually. I've just got quite a few other games to finish off first. So there you go, 5 new Series X games that I feel are definitely worth a try. I may yet come back with a full review of any of these in the future, as and when I manage to finish any of them. We'll see. Next time on 5 to Try, I'm going to start recommending some backwards compatible titles, starting with Xbox One games. See you then, and in the meantime, take care.